I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Steed, could you do the flag salute for us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please remain standing for the invocation? Ray Carrier.
All right. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time to come together, and so many challenges that we all have, but we're so blessed in so many ways. We thank you for this association and all the folks that are in it to help us to try and move forward and do what is right. And we pray for blessings on our companies and give us wisdom and insight as we move forward and with our association. Thank you for the many blessings you give us. In Christ, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Ray. Roll call.
Good afternoon. Bay Area District, Edward Serpis. Alan Kennedy. Stuart Kennedy. Anyone else in Bay Area? Mike? Big Valley, Vince Scoville. Travis Mickle. Sean Bradley. Alex Luna. Anybody else in Big Valley? Central Valley, Leslie Newick. Terry Bacchetti. I have, he's not here. LA South Bay, Greg Bosch. Nope. Mid-Cal, Ray Carrier. Thank you very much. Very, very good. Okay. Ferg, thank you, Ray. Orange County, Ralph Reese. I know Ralph's here. Ryan Woodall. Fred, I know Fred's not here. Jerry Bryant, Travis Swope. I'll call you again, Travis, as well. Anyone else in Orange County that I missed? San Bernardino Riverside, Rob Willis, Ryan Pena, Bernie Gonzalez, Jay Jones, Miguel Diaz. Anyone else? Great turnout. San Diego District, Dave Hendricks, Jim Finley, Uriel Zuniga, Gordon Nasser, Lauren Thrasher. I know Lauren's here. Okay. Anyone else in San Diego that I missed? Okay. San Fernando Valley District, Todd Veeden, Joe Wilson. Anyone else in San Fernando Valley? Central Coast, Chris Andre. Chris, anyone else? Coastal. I go through the districts. Any other district, any other person I didn't call? Okay. Okay. I already, okay. Pardon me? I'm coming to, let me just get to Shasta real quick. Jackie? David, okay, perfect. Didn't have it yellowed out, so. Santa Clara. Area 311, south, wherever, okay. Santa Clara. Okay. Let me see, past presidents here. Tom Grafton. Jim Steed. Travis, I called you earlier, but I'll call you as past president. Still there. Lee Whitmore. I know Lee was here earlier. I don't see any. Is there any other past presidents that I missed? Mike Bullard. Mike, how quickly I forget. Saw my friend Mike Bullard. Anyone else that I missed, folks? Okay. Let me do minutes. Okay, our executive committee meetings was last Friday. We had all members of the executive committee meeting in attendance. Approval of minutes were approved as well. Under President's remark, Dean Wiley talked about what he's done over the last, since we saw each other in Palm Springs. We also talked about what occurred in Ventura County Board of Supervisors, attended Vintage Coastal District meeting in February. We had our Termite Academy in February as well. By the way, it was a terrific success. Great speakers, Bernard Lewis, Andrew Sutherland, Gail Getty, etc. More districts are starting to stay shape, and folks, I will say sort of just anecdotally, we'll talk more about this today. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today in my comments about what's going on in districts, but a lot happening, and it's long overdue. We've also, and we're going to talk about this in a moment too, had an opportunity to work on our grassroots campaign that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, our outreach to our local government officials all over the state. So we'll talk about that. We also talked about SB 1064, our workers' comp legislation sponsored by PCOC and carried by Senator Newman as well. We also talked about sort of our membership drive, what's going on in the membership drive, talked about the Road Academy, and then also talked about our expo, upcoming expo on June 8th through 10th. So excited about that as well. Harry Hernandez walked through our treasurer's report, our subsidiary financial reports were gone over as well. Under Executive Vice President's report, again, I got into greater understanding of what 1064 does, our worker comp bill. We also have a bill, AB 2146, that I'm not going to talk about. Darren Van Steenwyk will talk about that today, and that's having to do with the issue of neonics and the impacts on our industry. Piece of legislation was introduced this year. Also talked about mandatory pesticide notification, the potential of just sort of dragging our industry in as well. Also relayed to them a phone call I had with the new DPR director, Julie Henderson, that I was supposed to talk 30 minutes. I ended up talking for well over an hour, and I thought, frankly, a productive call, and talked about a lot of the significant issues that we talked about, or we've been talking about this morning as it relates to sulfuric fluoride, structural fumigation, urban uses, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty productive conversation. Also talked about the fumigation demonstration in Southern California that we're attempting to get the director and key staff down from DPR, and I know John and Travis and his folks, along with Lee, are working on that. Then also talked about, and I'll get into this in a moment as well, is the lease of our building. And I'll talk about that. Vince and I will talk about that as we get into the committee structure, about kind of where we are on the lease issue. And again, just talked about our Christy and what's going on as it relates to membership and sort of the steps we're taking to increase our membership. And as you look at our membership stuff a little bit later in our program, we've made some progress. And then we talked about our upcoming budget meeting at the end of this month with Greg Augustine leading that as well. So that'll conclude my executive committee minutes.
All right, has everybody had a chance to go over the minutes from the last meeting? I get a motion to approve? Thank you, Larry. Can I have a second? Second, Tom Graston. Thanks, Tom. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Sacramento. Hope you had a good lunch, and I hope you had productive committee meetings this morning. Looking forward to hearing those this afternoon. I'm going to make my comments or my report kind of brief today. We've got a lot going on, and I'm sure it's a lot more exciting than what I have to say. So I didn't do anything after the December Board of Directors because of Christmas and all that. We started off in January. We kicked it off with Pest Ed, both North and South. Chris, he moderated the North. I moderated the South. We had about 60 people in my on my seminar. Chris, I think he had close to 50. It's not as many as we normally have, but I think all things considered, with COVID, the new variant was on the rise. We had mask issues indoors. We weren't sure if they were going to let us meet in large numbers, and I think a lot of people were a little hesitant. And also, lately you can get all the CEUs you need online. So I I think this might be the new norm. Hopefully we'll have more people, but I don't know that you're going to see the over hundreds again. After that, we spoke at the Ventura District meeting. We briefly got to speak with a Ventura County supervisor. His name is Matt Levere. He's a friend of Nick Barrancas. He asked him to come by and speak with us for, I don't know, a short period of time. He had another commitment. So we met with him for about 25 minutes. And we talked to him about what we're about, what our agenda is. We also talked to him about his side of the sorry. Anyway, we just got to talk to him pretty well, and so hopefully that's going to work out with him. Then we went up to the Central Coast. We had a great meeting there with good food and a good group of people. You can't really have a bad time at McClintock's up in Pismo Beach. So Matt and Israel, Dave, you guys are both doing really good jobs at your districts. February, I spoke at the Vintal Coastal District meeting. It was via Zoom. And then I attended the third annual Termite Academy, which was virtual. I was very impressed with the speakers we had there. We had 5 really good speakers. We had Gail Getty, we had Dr. Che, we had Dr. Lee, we had Bernard Lewis and Andrew Sutherland. And I was telling Chris, any one of those 5 people would be a keynote speaker at any meeting around the nation. So that's a great job done by Garrett, Sarah, Chris, and Mike McKenzie. As you guys know, the districts are kind of my passion, and they're my mission this year. My mission to make the districts great again. I feel the districts are starting to take shape. We had another great meeting this morning at 7 a.m. for about an hour. Good discussion around the room. Different chairs shared different ideas, and so I'm really excited about that. And along with Mike McKenzie, Sean Clark, Todd Verdeen, we have filled a few more district chair positions. Mid-Cal's up and running again, and I'm excited to say Chris had a really good lunch with a gentleman named Chris Ageniga. I hope I said that right. He runs a branch office at Clark and in that district. Regional manager. Okay, he's the regional manager for Clark in that area, and he's very excited to chair the Central Valley District. So I'm really excited about that. They haven't met for probably 2 years. And again, I want to say a big thanks to all the district chairs out there. You guys play a very important role in this association, so thank you again. In Palm Springs, we voted to hire Mike Madrid and his firm, Grassroots Labs. And thanks to the generosity of the people in this room and the hard work by our PR committee, we already have begun our first campaign, and you're going to see that here in a few minutes. We also introduced SB 1064, which is authored by Senator Newman. This is the bill that requires that you have workers' comp insurance, and Chris is going to talk a little bit more about that in his comments. We also had dinner with him cocktails with him last night. We thanked him for authoring our bill, and he's very excited to carry it. And lastly, I keep on all my stops on the Chris and Dean tour. The last thing I always leave everybody with is to make sure you're telling the PCOC story. Let everybody know what PCOC has done for you for the last 2 years. You know, the essential services. You know, if we didn't have that, we weren't deemed essential services on that day, it would take a week, a month. No telling what our industry would look like right now, and that's a direct result of PCOC. And then disinfecting. You know, we were able to go out there and disinfect and add more work to the work we already had. And then preemption. We just talked about. It was preemption, the word I was looking for. The preemption. I feel that this isn't going away. You guys all know it's not going away. And and I do believe that letter we sent to the Ventura County Board of Supervisors had a big difference in the decision-making process of them. So that's another thing, you know, that the PCOC has done for them. And then lastly, like I said earlier, the hiring of Grassroots Labs. I think this puts us in another level. By having a professional communications team along with our professional lobbyists, I think that takes us to another level. And I think these activists are going to have a hard time taking away our AIs, our active ingredients, and food off of our tables. And that again, that's something that not only a member but a non-member is going to take advantage of. So please, when you're out there, remind people about what PCOC does for them. And then lastly, I want to make, there's a couple of upcoming events I want to talk about. We have our Rodent Academy, and that's in person. That's March 16th to the 18th, but from what I understand, it's sold out. Actually, they oversold it. So if you're going, you're going to have a great time and learn a lot. And then Expo 2020, that's June 8th through the 10th, and the registration and schedule is on the PCOC website. And tonight, we have our legislative reception at 5:30, and that's at the 15th floor ballroom. And again, that's at 5:30. And that completes my report. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. I'd like to bring back Chris.
Before I kick off my report, I wanted to, this is sort of an exciting time for us, and we have two gentlemen in the room that, as you know, we were here, I think, in Palm Springs when I saw you last. We talked about the ability to provide outreach to different parts of our, particularly local elected officials, cities and counties, and I think we found the right man to do it. And as you know, we had discussions with, and I'm going to introduce him here in a moment, but we've had discussions, and Dean's right, the combination of sort of the strategic view of Dominic, along with the professionalism and the background of this gentleman I'm introducing, Mike Madrid, I am telling you will be we believe will make a significant difference in how we can communicate the one issue that you hear me say all the time: who we are and what we do. Okay, protecting people, property, and our food supply. This begins our discussion to start educating the public about what our industry does. So I'm really, really excited, as I said before I talk about my comments, to introduce Max Perry and Mike Madrid to come up and talk to us a little bit about what we're attempting to do. And Mike, with Grassroots Lab, we are very glad that you're here and part of our team. So please welcome our two gentlemen.
Well, that was a great introduction. I don't think I can cap, so I'm going to cede my time to Mike Madrid here. He's going to give you a great overview of everything that we're trying to do with this campaign, and it's something that we're really excited about. And today, not by coincidence, is launch day for the entire campaign. So, we have our website going public today. We have all of our social media channels going public. We have Mike doing his listserv outreach, to a wide swath of local government individuals across the entire state, as well as county individuals. We have a press release going out that he's going to speak about a little bit too. And so today's the big kickoff day and kind of a culmination of months of engagement and collaboration from folks. And, as Chris and others have said, this really doesn't work without engagement from industry. And that's, I think, a benefit that we have because, looking around the room and the meetings that I've had with folks, that engagement is prevalent with this group, and it's very necessary. And we're hoping that this will accentuate and highlight the efforts that you all have contributed to this, and then hopefully encourage folks, members, non-members, to continue engaging and to engage more. Hopefully show you these fantastic and disgusting videos that you send in are now going to be on the front page of the Bee, and contest winners for the biggest rat and things like that. Which is fun and it's tongue in cheek, but we have an opportunity to do something pretty big and pretty substantial here across the entire state. And I know Mike's going to talk about this, and he's done it a lot longer than I have. But he's telling me, look, this is visceral, this is personal, this is ubiquitous, this is statewide, this is something that affects, people of all ages and races and genders. And so we have a chance here to affect a real outcome and a real change. And, coming from a lobbying standpoint, it really gives us another leg up to where we walk into a meeting, folks say, I remember you. I remember seeing this organization, on the front page of so-and-so newspaper and websites and things. And so, it gives us a little bit of that credibility, a little bit of that competitive edge. And then, like we mentioned today, there's a bill or two at least every year that are going to be, deleterious to us. But hopefully when we start to get the PCOC name out there as a leader in the industry, they don't just introduce bills and not consult us. We're the first call now that they get and say, look, these are the leaders, these are the folks that we have to contact and see, do you have an opinion on this piece of legislation? Could you give us some advice? Because, maybe some members don't have our best interests in mind, and perhaps that doesn't change, but, occasionally and sometimes there are members that are, trying to do the right thing. They just, potentially don't have all the information or all the facts. They don't have industry knowledge for 20, 30, 40 years. So we go into those meetings and we tell them and they say, wow, that's a great point. Thank you very much. I would love to make this bill better. It's like, well, it would have been nice if you asked us these questions before you introduced this terrible bill. So this all, coalesces and helps those efforts. And again, just, really looking forward to and excited about the opportunity to work with you all more on it and get more and more engagement from you guys. But Mike's going to go into a little bit more detail on, the effort itself and some of our strategies for engagement and what his firm specializes in, and, increasing that engagement and the impact and the reach of our message. And it is a good message. So with that, I would like to pass it over to Mike Madrid to say a few words. Thanks.
Thank you all for having me. Again, my name is Mike Madrid. The name of my firm is Grassroots Lab. We specialize in two things. The first is in outreach and advocacy at the local government level throughout the state of California. And the second is kind of helping to frame and position a message for our clients in a way that is most advantageous to accomplish whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. Now, when we were first approached to kind of have a discussion, I immediately identified a really unique opportunity that not a lot of associations or membership organizations or interests in town have, and that is you have a very strong visual frame. You have the ability to talk about your policy in a very strong, impactful, effective, emotional way that allows policymakers at both the state and local level to start understanding the nature of the problem. Now, that's very, very rare, especially when we're starting to talk about things like active ingredient bans, chemical discussions. Sometimes it gets into the science. And I can guarantee you one thing, if you're talking about chemicals and how lethal or non-lethal or what types or variations of certain chemicals are in killing something, this legislature specifically is going to give you a pretty hard time because of the interest groups that are so strong. And local governments increasingly are going to be less receptive to it. So what we needed to do was develop a way that would grasp people's attention, be a little bit jarring, not too much, activate and engage your members and your membership, while also setting a very strong, advantageous frame that allows us to talk offensively about the problem instead of defensively explaining different scientific chemicals and explanations about why something is or is not bad in certain settings. Does that make sense? Because, okay, lunch was a little bit long. 2 martini lunches, those are the best. What we came up with is this concept called Rats of California. And the reason why we're going to use this thematic, and you can kind of see with the lights on, it's a little bit difficult. We're not trying to disgust the viewer here, but what we're trying to do is engage people in a way that is concerning, but not off-putting. Using these types of visuals, and by these types of visuals, what I mean specifically is videos that can be sent by you, the professionals in your area, showing infestations or images of a rat or some sort of vermin doing something that is peculiar or noteworthy. Strange terminology to use there, but what we're looking for is the video content that's going to engage viewers. I want to talk about why this is so important. The first is these types, and we're really excited about this campaign from a professional standpoint because it's very rare that we're able to get this type of content with this in this amount. If we're able to engage your employee bases, other companies, other people in your region, and that's really the key, is we have developed, I think, a really smart infrastructure I'm going to talk about in a second, but none of this works without content and active engagement from your employee bases and from the people out in the field. So as we get these, what we can do is start targeting them to different regions of the state under this umbrella. So for example, Ventura County Board of Supervisors proposes a ban. What we do is we reach out to the operators in the Ventura County area, engage and activate those members, and what we start to do is push these videos out, showing and demonstrating that there's this issue that has developed in this region of the state in a way that is particularly salient with the key constituencies that the Board of Supervisors and key city council members in that county are going to be responsive to. Okay, and I can answer questions about that in just a second on how we do that. But the most important point is, in order to get our arms around 58 counties and 485 cities, we have to use a pretty sophisticated technology infrastructure to get there, so that you're not caught flat-footed saying, these people are going to ban my product and put me out of business, and I've got 72 hours to respond to this because of the Brown Act. Does that make sense? You guys have probably all heard about this. As these bans come up, as these local governments can move much, much swifter, much, much quicker, and with much less notice than the state legislature does. And it's hard to lobby. It's hard to find a firm that has relationships up in Chico and in San Diego and Riverside and Bakersfield and Paso Robles and Dinuba, and you get the picture, okay? Because that firm doesn't exist. We're the only firm that does this holistically, and we do it digitally, and it's very rare, again, that we find this type of a client base to do this sort of thing. So what we're going to be doing is asking you to send in and communicate to your members and people out in the field these videos. They go to Blair at the headquarters here. We'll show a couple of them, but it's nothing that you haven't seen before. Download the videos from their phone, send them in just to the region. We're not interested in people's addresses. That gets us into a lot of legal trouble, right? We're just looking for what region of the state that you're in. We then process the video, cut it, edit it, stamp it as the Rats of California, and then kick it out on our social media and direct mail target it to legislators and policymakers in that specific region. And the goal is to get out front of them to explain, and this is a real important piece, the growth of rats specifically into suburban and residential areas because of the lockdowns that have occurred during COVID. We're trying to create a little bit more of an urgency and revisit an issue that is very timely to show and demonstrate that this is an issue. It's a real issue. It's a public health, potentially a public health issue that as policymakers, they need to get out in front of. Does that make sense? Is anybody following here? Any questions at this point in time? No? Okay. Do you want to show some of how this will work?
Yeah, I just want to show the also the latest news and then the case studies to show a little bit of science and legitimacy and make sure the news is all up to date, show the immediacy of the issue.
I'm sorry, this is a really important point that I've skipped over. Once we get a handful of videos, of quality videos in a certain media market, we will contact the local news channel to get a television spot on the evening news done in that region to hyper localize that content to show and make it more impactful for when you start to have those meetings with your local policymakers. And if I ran over this too quickly, let me make one broader 30,000 foot point before Max kind of shows a couple of the videos. And again, there's a ton of studies that we found documenting this. The national organization that you work with and partner with has provided us an enormous amount of materials. This is an issue that is happening all over the place. We're not pushing the envelope on this. This is very legitimate. This is very real. You are probably seeing it in your businesses too. The concept of rats specifically is designed to not overwhelm and disgust people with maybe other types of things you're eliminating, but engage the viewer in a way that will allow us to kind of set that frame in a way where we can start going in and having a policy discussion. This is all designed, again, to set the battlefield on a place where people recognize that your industry provides a service and they're looking for a solution that will actually work for your business and your business model. Currently, you're operating in an environment where you're against the wall. You're trying to eliminate certain products and certain tools that you use. And when people start talking about using raptors or, stuff in waterways, these aren't real solutions. I think you know that obviously far, far better than I do. Our job is to get you into the door in an advantageous position to have them explain away how they would solve this problem where you're currently trying to explain away why what they're attacking you with isn't all that bad, right? So, I'm sorry. Let me talk a little bit about part of the rollout today is what we are going to do is we have lined up a number
of policymakers, I think a couple up in the legislature here, as well as some local policymakers that will be pushing this out on Twitter. We've got a couple of preloaded videos for Twitter. We run the largest local elected newsletter in the state. About 9,000 city council members, mayors, department heads, and public health directors will be getting our newsletter today, where the lead story is going to be on this effort. It's already gotten, I think, 350 clicks after being distributed about an hour and a half ago. All this content will be driven onto this page. But 24 hours from now, I expect we'll probably have well over 2,000, 2,500 views of mayors, council members, and again, department heads. We will then tomorrow launch this on its sister publication, County News, which will go to county supervisors, the public CEOs, and the department heads in the county for an additional 15,000 members to view. So the traffic, we think, is going to engage rather quickly. This is where, again, all of you as leaders in the organization, if you're not on Facebook and Twitter, if you could please do that and get on it or learn it, we can help you do that. We can do a little webinar to kind of walk you through it simply, basically. I'm sure you a lot of your employees and employee bases are. That's something that they can be involved and engaged in. And again, this is one of those really visual tools where when you show people on your phone what the association is doing and the impact it's having, it's a membership engagement tool where people start to feel that they're part of this advocacy effort because they are. They're actually critical to the entire effort.
I'll say that the last bit of the rollout that we've done today is we've packaged this kind of rollout system into a press release, and then we have a media tool that goes through all the beats in California and gets reporters by the subject area that they cover, so local government, health, that sort of thing. And then we create lists of all those media members that we then blast out the press release too. So I think that's happening in the next 30 minutes. And so then obviously kind of organic and things like that. And then you get the press essentially calling you and saying, this is fantastic and this is timely for us. We would love to run with this story. We're going to blast out the press release. We're going to blast it out. And so, yeah, that media technology is super helpful and advanced. And that's something we're doing today in accordance with this rollout.
And I promise you, I assure you, I will get TV stories if you get me content. If you get me something I can put up there, there's no TV station in California that doesn't want to run a story like this because it gets eyeballs, it gets attention, it gets focus, and it starts to frame everything that you are dealing with on the right terms when you're dealing with policymakers. Again, stuff you've seen before. There's nothing, he's not going to do any tricks or anything. But you know what we're trying to do, we're trying to demonstrate is the ubiquitousness of all of this in a way that we can start pushing this out and have it kind of go viral, if you will, on social media channels. We're looking for short 8 to 15-second clips from the regions that they're in. I think that one was from Ventura or Northern California, something like that. We will do all the aggregation. We'll do all the focus. And again, I know you're dealing with an issue specifically in Ventura County. Everything we get from Ventura County or even the San Fernando Valley, those are all types of things that we will be pushing directly into the inboxes of those legislators, lawmakers, policymakers, city council members, county supervisors, and showing the problem in their area through this anecdotal way, while also highlighting it again in our publications, because nobody wants to be known as a city that's got this kind of a problem, right? You all have them. They're probably sitting on your phone right now. Yes, sir.
What would be a good percentage of people who look at email?
Of ours, of our lists? We have an extremely high one, but again, the publications that we're talking about, again, the most well-read and the most, the longest serving publications for local governments in the state. We've been doing it for 15 years, so we have a very high rate. Normally on our normal click rates are probably about 30%. My guess is on this content, we're probably going to do around 60. Okay, so mayors and council members are going to see, they're going to see it. If you start to set meetings with people, they're going to know what you are talking about, but the more content you give us, the bigger the problem that they feel that they're going to need to solve is going to be. And the idea here is to allow you to be more offensive in nature from a communication standpoint than trying to explain it as different environmental groups or other groups start to come up and shut you down without you even knowing it. Can I say one more quick thing on that too? Again, the local government space is an area that my firm, and we're the only firm in California that has an expertise in local governments holistically. You can find a lot of regional firms, maybe in a San Diego or Orange County or Northern California. We approach it holistically because our solutions allow for membership organizations to approach this stuff, again, digitally. I can't tell you enough about how great of a membership recruitment tool this is and how effective this is if we need at the last minute to call somebody from Riverside to go in to meet with a Janice Rutherford or a Kurt Hagman on the San Bernardino City Council. They will have seen these videos. And the more content that you give us, the bigger the problem is going to appear to them. And that's the position that we want them in when they're trying to come up with and develop solutions. Sir.
I really appreciate the fact that your firm knows very little about our industry.
Yeah.
Because the people we're trying to reach know very little about our industry.
Yes.
And so you know what they're going to respond to.
Yes.
I was just thinking about if we started an email campaign where we sent them all a letter saying, hey, we're PCOC and this is what we're about. I think the open rate on that letter might be about 1%.
Yes. Right.
And so I really appreciate the genius of the attention getting and the message you're trying to say. If we could get their attention and then do the introduction and then make the connections. But this is what draws people's attention. And the more of this that we can give you, the more attention you can draw.
Thank you for that, because I'm hoping that there is not a disconnect where people are going like, what does this have to do with what we do? I understand that there might be. That's because you're such experts in your space that you're probably going, why aren't we explaining kind of the details of this? Our job is to do precisely what you just articulated, is talk to people who aren't experts in this space and identify at an emotional, visceral level what the problem is that we're dealing with. And that opens the door for you to say, we have this solution. And if you ban this or take these tools off of the table for us, that's going to happen times 10. It's already a problem in your community. It's already happening. Your neighbors are seeing it. They're sharing it with each other on Facebook and on Twitter. You've got an obligation to make sure that this is not what your city and its quality of life is defined by. So thank you for that. Sometimes that connection is a little bit difficult for people who are experts in their space to kind of draw. Are there any other questions? Those are good ones. Yes, sir.
Mike, we have 100 hours of videos from rodents. But how do we give them to you or to mine?
Blair? Oh, I'm sorry. Where's Blair? There's Blair. We'll get you all the contact information for Blair. You can send them to her. She then works with both of our firms to kind of process with 100 hours of content. First of all, thank you. That's exactly what we need. We're going to find a lot of good stuff in there. So I'll be looking at rats all day for the next, I'm sure, few months to find the right stuff that is going to get the most traction in the areas where we can be of best service to you. But once Blair has it, then we can start working together as a team, process it, chop it up, and then make sure that we're kicking it out into the appropriate space. So, but we should probably make sure that we're getting that contact information and putting it either up, or Blair, if you want to give your email address or something like that, however you want to communicate with everybody in the room, that would be helpful, because we also need you to send that to people in the field who are getting these videos or who can get these videos, along with other potential operators who you're trying to engage in the campaign as well. Because we will be doing competitions and stuff like that too. And I think you'll probably start to see a little bit of competitiveness on some of the stuff that goes up there and who's getting the most views and likes and hits and stuff like that. Becomes a little bit, the more competitive it becomes, the more viral and the more vibrant the actual site becomes and the effort becomes.
Because we have all with the video cameras.
Perfect. Okay. we'll be in touch with you on how we can get that compressed in the right format to get it to us so we can chop it up. Any other?
Rats are our sole focus right now.
Right now, yeah, I know. And that's a great question. Rats are at the moment the sole focus, because I have seen some other stuff that you guys deal with, and we're not trying to, we want to keep, one of the metrics that we look for, what we call stickiness on the site. How long can we keep people on the site looking for it? There's a certain, I think you know what I mean. The people aren't going to be looking like at maggots too long, right? They'll stick around on this and they'll share it and be like, oh my gosh, have you seen this? They're probably not going to put the other stuff on their Facebook page. So that's why we're kind of trying to find the scariest but most charismatic vermin we can find, and rats won the, yeah. Fair enough?
Any other questions?
Anything
from Mike?
else? Thank you so much. Let me just end by saying again, we feel very good about this campaign. It's not too often we have a visual frame like this. So this may not be terribly exciting to you because you deal with it all the time, but for us, we're pretty excited to see how we're able to execute, and I feel really good about it. Yeah.
I don't know, I think because of the pressure we're getting for even taking away our glue boards.
Yeah.
Having glue boards on there might not be.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because they already banned them in Scotland, and now they're talking about it in Canada and England and everything else.
Okay. We'll note that. And again, these conversations are ongoing, so any feedback that you get like that is very, very helpful for us. Hopefully we'll have enough content where we can just kind of thumb through that. Yeah, the best videos, incidentally, like there was one that was crawling up around a patio and the dog's barking at it over the family patio. That's better than in the rafters, because a lot of people are like, well, yeah, there's a rat in the attic. That's not terribly bad. You have one run across the picnic table on the 4th of July. That's a whole different consideration, right? Those are the types of videos that we're going to be sifting through to find as much of that as we possibly can. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mike. By the way, we particularly need videos from Southern California, okay? We got a bunch up north, and we need those of you who reside in the southern part of the state to send us some videos. So we got in the Sacramento area, but we got a little few in Ventura, but we really need some in Los Angeles, Orange, etc. Okay, so for those of you who have available video, send it to us. Okay, send it to Blair as well. So anyway, I'm glad we had a chance to sort of roll this out for you. We're kind of excited about it. We think is Jim asked the question, and it's a relevant question. What comes next? We're not just going to talk about rats. We're going to be able to pivot. Okay, as you know, we have more issues going on than just rats. So, but at least this begins the discussion about, as you know, folks, who we are and what we do. And guess who takes care of these problems? We do. So anyway, excited about that. And Mike and Max, I appreciate that. Let me just go into my comments very briefly. As you look around today, let me just quick kudos for Sarah, because at the end of January, we didn't even know we were going to do this event. As you know, we were in the middle of Omicron. We didn't know what this was going to look like. We had March 7th and 8th down because that's the only dates the hotel could give us. So we put this together in a month. And we didn't even know at the time that we'd even have legislative members even attend any of this stuff. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they were sort of huddled in their building. They weren't going out very often. We're trying to figure out where they're going to come over here. Are we going to, and I don't know if you know this, I think you all know it now. You can't go in that building now. Okay. You can't go in the Capitol now because it's under construction. It's going to be under construction for a minimum of 3 years. Okay. They're at 10th and O Street. Okay. That they built a building simply to store them. I call store them, or wrong term maybe. But that building isn't nearly the size as the other building. I've been told even as we look to next year, we're going to have a real plan in terms of how we go over. Do we go over in mass? Is it because, as you know, that place is usually busy, not just folks like us, but other members as well. So this has been sort of a work in progress as we speak. Last night we were fortunate. We had Senator Newman, who's carrying our 1064 bill, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but our workers' comp bill, who spent what, about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. So that was a winner. Spent some time with us. We're going to have a member come to our reception night. We're actually trying to get a legislative member to come to our board meeting today. But as you know, there's some members that just don't want to go to big events now, don't want to go out to large. So there's still sort of this happening, folks. So when you ask the question, why can't we go to the Capitol? Well, we can't get in the Capitol, and we can't give it in the building that they're currently have their offices in. So we're trying to sort of get through this year. And as we look to next year, Darren and I have already talked about, and Sarah, what is this going to look like? Okay, what is this going to look like? So we will work through that. We have some time to do that, but at least wanted to make you aware of putting this together in 1 month with a lot of the uncertainties of COVID was, to say the least, challenging. So Sarah, great job. Appreciate your efforts. SB 1064. Sort of gets to what Mike was saying here too. Our workers' comp bill, I don't know about you, but we're always tired of sort of playing defense, getting beat up. And we really thought that why don't we do something that is people can support, makes sense, enhances our industry. The only unfortunate part is that we had a young man die last year who fell off a ladder in Southern California. And I think there was a view at the time, and our friend Curtis Good, who sits on the Structural Pest Control Board, president this year, talked about why don't we require in the Structural Pest Control Act, you have to show certification of workers' compensation insurance, okay, as part of the act. So by the way, that's consistent with what the Contractor State Licensing Board does right now. And why that's important is it also tells you, and by the way, for the most part, the vast majority of members have workers' compensation. I'd say just about all of them. We all know that, okay? So if you ask the question, why are we doing this? Since that's my view is it's a foundational effort for our industry. We need to protect our employees, protect our businesses. I think it's a consumer bill too, because the whole issue of potential litigation as we look down the road. So this bill, we felt strongly about as part of the Structural Pest Control Act to require workers' comp insurance, and more important, to let the board know if it's canceled or they get out of workers' compensation, the board automatically knows, and then we can take disciplinary action against that member company as well. So we believe it's hugely beneficial to PCOC, and we appreciate the senator for carrying the bill for us. So, and we haven't carried a bill that I'm aware of. It's been some years. And so we thought it was time to do that as well. I know John's going to talk about this as well, but my good friend John Sansome and I, John, how often do we talk in a week over the last 6 months? A lot. Yeah, it just seems like day and night. It really does, John. No, I'm teasing. But it went back to the port issue. Now we're still dealing with the department. We have a new director. We almost got to start over again and educating the DPR staff about the use of this material. I had a nice discussion. I mentioned in my previous segment about my discussion with the director. I viewed this as we talked about environmental justice issue, and I said there's a more important industry for environmental justice than structural fumigation. So, as you know, substandard housing, substandard sanitation, all the things that we do for structural fumigation is critically important to protect the people of the state. And so we're very glad that it looks like, I haven't heard definitively, but she's indicated she wants to come in early April. She's going to bring down, I hear, maybe staff of 3 or 4, at least what I hear right now. And so be glad to deal with this issue, but on the director going on south. But my point is we've been working on this issue of scientific endpoint, how much you can apply, is there buffer zones, is there no buffer zone, all these sorts of issues since the time I got here. It's been 5 years. And so we really want to resolve this, put this to bed. And I'm hoping now with the new director and staff seemingly focused on this, is that we can finally put this issue, as I mentioned, to bed one more time. But it has taken a lot of time and effort. I would contend with you, and John's aware of this too. We got an issue sort of floating out there about mandatory notification. What does that look like in California? There's some pilot projects going on. So we're going to be prepared on the pilot project issue as well in California. By and large, it's focused on agriculture, okay? By and large. But I know there's a couple commissioners who reached out to me and said they're kind of looking at developing some sort of mandatory notification for urban pesticide use. And by the way, as we sit here today, I don't really know what that means. So I don't know if it's branch 2, I don't know if it's branch 1 or any of it, okay? But they said, look, it's hard for us to leave out, if you're using pesticides, it's hard to leave out our industry as well. So if you were at some of our meetings this morning with our Ag Commissioner, Josh Hunsinger, he doesn't know what it means either in terms of mandatory notification, just doesn't, because it's not clear yet. And by the way, it's a 3-year program too. DPR was given $10 million last year in their budget to come up with some sort of notification scheme, but they also want to do these pilot projects to see if they work or don't work. So this isn't going to happen right away, but clearly it's an issue that we have to watch, okay? Because I think we're going to see this down the road as well. Preemption, we talked, I think the last time in Palm Springs about the potential of preemption in California. The good news is we didn't see a preemption bill, and that's good news. The other good news is in my discussions with the DPR director, she doesn't support a preemption bill either. So I would always be worried if the regulatory oversight agency wanted to support preemption. It makes it a huge challenge for us to stop it if, for example, because remember, if DPR supports it, it means the governor supports it, okay? So the good news is that she's indicated to me, we don't think it makes any sense. It wouldn't work in California. It would be too cumbersome, onerous, et cetera. I can go on now, but she was very, very supportive of the current system. We need to refine it. She comes from an entirely different background than previous directors of DPR. But candidly, I think she's someone we can work with, and the choice is for us is she is the only game in town to work with. So we're going to try to develop a relationship with her. Our plan right now is to get her down, still sort of finalizing this, trying to get her down to meet with us and talk to us at Expo in Disneyland in June. So a couple things going on. Darren's going to talk about, related to legislation as well, Darren's going to talk a little bit about another bill, neonics, which wouldn't surprise you. We're seeing in other parts of the country, the elimination of neonicotinoids. We see that bill now, 2164, that I'll let Darren talk about, that I don't think is going away. And we're actually talking with the author of the bill, a member from the Bay Area this Thursday. But I wanted to, I should put this to you candidly. I don't think this issue is going away, and I don't, depending on what happens, what the bill does. The department's also coming up with some regulations regarding neonics. Our friends at the federal level are looking at further restrictions on neonics. So it's something that we're going to have to face in reality anyway. So anyway, we have a lot going on. Any questions that I can answer? I hope that presentation for you is something that we're excited about. It allows us to begin to tell a story that I think for most of us, we wanted to tell for a long time. And it gets us down the road to say, hey, by the way, what do we do? In my view, is we protect most of the communities, or all the communities that we live in. So it's important. I'm glad you saw it. Any questions? Oh yeah, Dean just mentioned to me the building. I'll talk about, I know that as we get into the committees, Vince and I are going to double team sort of where we are. That's the one last issue. I want to talk about the status on the lease of our building, and I'll wait till we do that. So thank you.
All right. Got our treasurer's report. Mary Hernandez.
Good afternoon. If you'll turn to your blue pages and follow along. This is the balance sheet as of January 31st, 2022, and our assets. Total checking savings are $324,284 and are composed of checking, dues money market, building reserve, equipment impound, legal impound, Cal OSHA, and encumbered building reserves. Total accounts receivable is $86,760 and are composed of AR 2122 state dues of $66,956, AR 2122 district dues of $9,484, and AR 2122 PAPCO contribution of $10,321. Total fixed assets are 148,779 and are composed of land, automobile, building improvements, and furniture fixtures net of accumulated depreciation. Total other assets are $3,555 and are the equity PCOC group, which is a PCOC investment in the insurance program. Total assets come in at $563,379. The balance sheet as of January 31st, 2022, liabilities and equity. Total current liabilities are $279,275 and are composed of accounts payable and other current liabilities. Total accounts payables are $182,871 and are composed of AP trade of $10,920, ARC and YOLO county prop tax, AP auto loan of $16,387, AP district dues of $45,670, AP PCOC cares of $450, AP PAPCO of $45,852, and Wells Fargo credit cards of $20,820. Total other current liabilities are $96,405 and are composed of insurance, medical of $295, deferred 21-22 state dues of $66,956, deferred 21-22 district dues of $9,484, deferred 21-22 PAPCO contributions of $10,321, vacations payable of $9,349. Total equity is $284,104 and is composed of retained earnings of $153,450 and net income of $130,653. Total liabilities and equity balance out at $563,379. Statement of activities for the period ending in January 31st, 2022. This financial statement represents 7 months of our total budgeted year. Income. Total income for the current period, the month of January 2022, is $63,885. Total income for the year to date, the 7 months ending January 31st, 2022, which is 7 months of our fiscal year, is $714,297, and this is 79.4% of the total budgeted amount. Expenses. Total expenses for the current period, the month of January 2022, are $71,706. Total expenses for the year to date, ending January 31st, 2022, which is 7 months of our fiscal year, are $583,644. This is 64.8% of the total budgeted amount. The statement of activities for the current period, the month of January 2022, reported a net loss of $7,821. The statement of activities for the year to date ending January 31st, 2022, which is 7 months of our fiscal year, reported a net income of $130,653. Are there any questions regarding our financial statements? I'll let Chris take that.
We're going to be mailing it out shortly. We're at the very end of the 2021 dues, which is roughly about 22 grand. So that'll be going out. Sarah. Yep. Yep.
People like changing the treasurers and chairs and stuff, and so they had to make some changes, but most of the stuff is not. I think I have 4. Is that the 21-22 time period, or is that?
That's the remaining 2021, and then the 22 are going to go out. We're going to start doling out in the summer. Okay. One other just clarification here, just so folks know, under income under the Candidate Research Fund, when you look at BOD, if you see nothing there, just to let you know, next time we see this, actually we have raised monies for Candidate Research Fund from our golf tournaments. It's not listed there, but it's actually under our BOD money, so about little over $23,000. So we will clarify that at our next time I see you at our board meeting in June, but it should be under the candidate research fund. So just let folks know, okay?
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll pass it back to Dean. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mary. We originally moved up new business, and that was Mike Madrid's presentation, but do we have any other new business? Okay. Now I'd like to call up Mike Bullard with the PCOC insurance report. That's Mike, not Lee.
Good afternoon, everybody. I also have with me Eric Shaw with Epic Insurance. Epic is our partner in PCOC Insurance. And Eric has been with Epic for 8 years and is just recently helping to oversee our program now that Paul is retired. So Laura and Eric share those responsibilities. We're going to hear from Eric in a little bit. Turn to your yellow sheets in your program today. I'm going to go over the financials. Our assets at the PCOC Group total out at $2,066,971 and are principally composed of our banking, our Wells Fargo Trust, which was our equity in the insurance program, and those monies are encumbered in the plan, and our Schwab investments. Our liabilities are principally composed of our retained earnings of $1,986,932, and our accounts payable for last year's income tax of $21,913. If you flip the page, you'll see that so far in the year, and we run a fiscal year through the end of June, we're tracking similar profits to last year, so we're making tax plannings for this upcoming year's payments for our taxes. But our income is composed of our commission income of $72,517, and our expenses of captive expenses, $15,000, insurance, $45.83, our advisor fees, and our PCOC reimbursement, tracking a net gain of $54,569. And our committee, our fund that we run, has continued to sustain significant losses primarily driven by auto losses. The general liability and other forms that we hold are performing pretty well. But what that's caused us to do as an association is in the past, 2 years ago, we were 40%, we held a 40% share in that ceded premium. So every dollar that we brought in for premium, we were 40% share of that. And last year we voted to decrease that down to 10% because of the increase in losses. We'd have to come up with additional collateral. And we did that a year ago. And we're looking at this renewal coming up in July, and we're going to negotiate to decrease our participation again, possibly to zero. And that's primarily because of the collateral that would be needed to cover our trend with the losses. And Eric's going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. And one of the things that may do, and we're discussing, is, maybe time for us to look at different carriers. So the carrier is the underwriter, the insurance company that ultimately writes the checks out for the losses that we have, right? And, what we've been with our current carrier for over 15 years, which is a long time in the captive business. And not saying that we're for sure doing that, just we're exploring all options because we want to do our best for you, as PCOC. I'm going to call up Eric and give a review of the program.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're really facing one of the most challenging markets we've faced in the last 20, 25 years from an auto perspective. Auto rates have been through the roof the last several years, and they continue to be. And that's one of the most challenging parts of our program. So what we've been doing, we are in the marketplace as we speak. We have an RFP out into all of the market to look at different options for you. We're not, like Mike said, we're not necessarily leaving the captive, but it's definitely heading that way as far as the participation as well. We still need to continue to focus really hard with the auto. So if you're using and reaching out to Michael, continue to do so. We don't see that changing. The workers' comp market remains very competitive. You talked about workers' comp already today and that it's necessary. Work comp used to be very expensive. It's kind of where the auto market is right now, but the rates in workers' comp are competitive. And we don't see that changing in the near future. COVID has not had the impact that we thought it would over the last couple of years. And, the carriers continue to be very aggressive there. From the perspective of continuing to grow the PCOC, Epic is a national company. Our goal really is to continue to push this nationally, to bring more members into this, to where we diversify the risk more. So it's not just everybody in California, it's done nationally. So we have a very big marketing campaign going nationally across every state, identifying the top 20 pest companies there to really try and bring them also into this program. So we're looking forward to that. I think it's going to diversify the risk. It's going to make the program bigger, and it's going to ultimately provide stability to the program. And that's my update.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say that, our company, when we started Big Time Pest Control, we chose Epic and PCOC Insurance to represent us. And insurance is a big spend. And it's not only the premiums that you pay, but when you have a claim, how do they handle it? And one of the things that PCOC Insurance does is we have a review committee that reviews all claims over a certain size and anything to do with pesticide contamination, things that are specific to our industry. And we recognize industry trends and then bring that to our board, bring that to our industry to help all of our members and to help our entire industry. So it benefits everybody. So if you're not currently using PCOC insurance, call Michael and get a quote. And we appreciate your support. Thank you. Any questions? Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. All right, it's time for our committee reports. I'd like to call on President-elect Greg Augustine.
I'm going to pull a little bit out of order. And first, I would like to call up our Legislative Committee Chairperson, Darren Van Seenwick. Darren, you ready?
Afternoon. We had a couple of interesting conversations. We did talk a little bit about 1064, SB 1064, what Chris mentioned, but the big one that is of interest to our association is AB 2146, which is a ban on neonics. So essentially, there's a few carve-outs, but the long and the short of it is the bill would make neonics RUP, restricted use, in 2023, and then outright ban them in 24. And we have a meeting with the author's office actually this Thursday, trying to get a feel for where's she coming from, who are the sponsors behind the bill, what's driving it. We think we know, but there's always some unknowns that we're trying to figure out. Part of the so we have multiple points that we're going to be presenting to her. It's Rebecca, I can never pronounce her name, Bauer-Cahan. Yes, success. I'll take the victories where I can get them. And so we've got multiple points that we're going to be putting together for her. But if you have any, or her office, but if anybody here has any specific use patterns that we think neonics would severely impact, outside of we know the trunk injection and soil injection and systemic treatments for aphids and honeydew producing insects. But if you have anything else, please don't be afraid to reach out, and we'll take those use patterns and put them, try to see if we can integrate them into the argument. Those are the major ones that we're dealing with. Any questions on what we talked about? Hearing none, thank you much. You're too late. Funding wise, we're going to be okay for what?
For having the funding necessary to support those candidates that we feel would be supportive of our industry.
Okay, so you're asking a question on a PAPCO. I'm going to defer that to Jim when he talks about when he gives the PAPCO presentation. Thank you much.
Thank you, Darren. All right, taking that lead, I'd like to call up a PAPCO committee chairperson, Jim Steed. Good afternoon, Jim.
To answer your question quickly, the chair is underfunded and is accepting donations at all times. So, good afternoon. I wanted to start out by saying, coming up here in the election in June, we are going to have several opportunities for folks to maybe join PAPCO. We have 2 long-term serving members that are retiring. They're finishing their careers, Lawrence Shork and Larry, Lawrence, and Fred. I'm very good at forgetting Fred's name, even though I've known him for about 15 years. So if you've ever had some intrigue about political donations, how to make them, how not to make them, how they affect our industry, just kind of keep that in your mind and consider putting your hat in the ring. I've really enjoyed it the last 15 years I've been involved, and would love to have you join. So we have some pretty exciting things that are happening for PAPCO. Upcoming, we've discovered that in the state of California, most of the movement in our elected officials now happens in the primaries. Once you get to the general election, our districts are so red or blue, they pretty much go that direction, right? And so it's really in the primaries against each other where we can support candidates that are probably better for us and our industry. So PAPCO has a strategy meeting prior to the primaries, and then another one after the primaries prior to the general election. And during those strategy sessions, we work on formulating the donations we're making for those 2 different periods. So we have a strategy meeting that's happening in about 3 weeks for the primaries. And then after the primaries are done and we know the lay of the land for the general election, we'll have a second strategy session working with Dominic and Max to determine what our donation strategies are for there. And we typically always put them in one of 4 categories. One is leadership. Leadership is extremely influential in our capital. Key committee positions, including committee chairs. Old friends, people who have done well for us over the years, and we want to make sure we continue to support them. And our 4th area is potential new friends. And so somebody falls into almost one of those 4 categories in our strategy, and we rely a lot on Dom and Max and his staff to probably put together about 80% of that, but 20% comes just from the experience of the PAPCO trustees, remembering other names and looking at other opportunities. This election year, 30% of the seats in the state of California are open, which means the incumbent is not running. That means there's going to be a lot of activity in the primaries. Really, that's normally closer to about 10 or 15%. And Dom can't remember the last time we had over 30%. So it's a pretty exciting year for us looking at what that means. If you turn to your orange packet, or the orange page in your packet, I want to tell you that you're going to see some pretty good news there, especially if you flip back over to the back side of the page. me see if I've got that right. Maybe it's the other page here, the one that shows our receivables. There we go. So these are funds that some of them are realized. If you looked at the accounting we got in the Treasurer's Report, we have about $280,000 that's in our checking account. And roughly about 90 of that is headed towards PAPCO. Plus we have an additional round of donations and dues that are coming over the next 3 months. And so you add that up, and for the first time in a very long time, you're seeing our PAPCO numbers in places we haven't been in probably 20, 25 years. So really happy to show you that we've got quite a bit more to deal with. We may add a 5th category to our donations. Dom feels pretty strong that we need to start looking at different caucuses. There's a problem solvers caucus that is in the legislature, which is gaining some notoriety. There's a mod caucus and some others that he thinks may be a good place for us to put some support. So I'm pretty excited to tell you that I think we're in good shape. We're well funded at the moment, historically well funded. I think we've got a unique opportunity with the changeover to make some new friends at an important time. And then I think we're really well advised by Dom and his staff, and look forward to giving you a good report in June. Are there any questions on PAPCO? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Next, may I please call up the PCOC Cares Committee Chairperson, Christine Cornejo. Christine, are you here? She's not here. Ralph's going to pitch hit for a pinch hit.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Ralph.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I apologize. I was doing my notes over there. My iPad crapped out, so I'm going off my phone, so bear with me. With that being said, so I met this morning to a decent showing, and we talked about a lot of different things in CARES, but I'll open up with our balance and where we stand financially, and then go into some of the projects that we're working on right now. What we completed, what we are working on right now, and then what we're planning for the future. So right now, our balance is about $17,867. With that, sorry. So with the most recent project that we had was the ornament fundraiser. So if any of you remember that in Christmas time, we sold these ornaments that we had done. It was our first year doing that. So got a decent amount. It wasn't exactly what we were going for, but still we collected out of that was about $43.58. We still have about $950 worth of pledges that are not collected, and about 1,182 sponsorships that are not collected as of yet. So they're coming in. So we just haven't collected them yet. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So what we have going on right now is we do have a wine basket. If you guys have not had a chance to check that out, or if you got the memo or whatnot, then we have a wine basket that we're raffling off. It's $20 per ticket. It's $6 for 100. And I'm sorry, 6 tickets for 100. Thank you. 6 tickets. Yeah, right. 6 tickets for 100. And we'll be raffling that out. It's basically a lot of wine with some accoutrements and everything else. So that'll be fun. What we'll be working on for our September fundraiser will be a beer wagon. We want to do that this time. Just things didn't work out that way. So hopefully we'll be able to get that going on, have the radio flyer, beer wagon that you might have seen a few years ago. Some people actually just wanted the wagon and they gave away all the beer, and it was great and everybody had a good time. So hopefully we're looking forward to that and get that going on. As far as the ornament goes, we do want to do the ornament again for this year. We learned some things from last year, so we're getting started now. We are looking for sponsorships, And we are looking for, looking at some designs. We started out with a lot of designs last time. We realized we probably need to start with just 3 designs. So we'll do that and get that started sooner, so that way we can have sales happen with that and take advantage of the next few BODs or 2 BODs instead of just 1. So let's see here. We also talked about fundraising efforts that we wanted to do as far as larger fundraisers, larger scale fundraisers, such as like golf tournaments and things of that sort. Or possibly even expanding into some sort of a tri-district fundraiser, and that was also talked about as well. So obviously that takes a lot of logistics, so that's a discussion. Leslie, is there anything I'm missing here? I feel like yeah, we definitely need to raise money. We need to raise a decent amount of it. We had a discussion about, historic balances, and at one point, I think it was discussed that there was $47K in there at one point. Yeah, so that's definitely a concern. I mean, the thing about the CARES committee is it's donated. It's 100% donated, and it's the one committee that we feel does a lot of good for a lot of people. I mean, there's people in this room who have either been positively affected by CARES, or have people that work for them that have been positively affected by CARES. So one of the other things we wanted to do is explore doing the stories. It was a real powerful video that they had done before a few years ago, where you had a young woman up here that told her story. Now, obviously, we want to be, we have to handle that very carefully, so we're protecting, how much someone wants to share about their personal, experiences. But we can do them in a couple different ways. But we felt that sharing a story puts a face to the name, because when you see that face up there, it goes right to your core, and you're like, I want to help. And you literally see it translates to, if I give, that can happen. I can help affect that change. So I think that's where we last left it. And I'm sure I'm missing something, so I'm getting what. Oh, so just to remind you guys, this was actually thank you. This was actually established during Tom Grasson's term, which is each district should have a CARES representative. Actually, there's a representative, for several different committees, and that CARES representative person is going to be the secretary. So if you don't have someone that's like, hey, I want to be the CARES representative at the BOD, and a liaison with Christine, then that defaults automatically to the secretary. So district chairs, if your secretary didn't know that and you're here, congratulations. If you are, if you're a chair and you're here, please take that message back. So, and what was what was assigned was basically, and it was an executive order that was made, was the PR representative would be the vice chair, because so they have time. Kidding. So the PR committee chair was going to be the vice chair. The CARES was going to be the secretary, and the fundraising was going to be the treasurer. So those are the positions that automatically had that responsibility assigned to them. And we also talked about entertaining, having a CARES month. And this is something that I think we ended the meeting with, is talking about having a CARES month, where we could say like, hey, October is CARES month, and maybe we'll have this fundraiser in different districts that would help benefit CARES in a month there. And possibly, like, if you have raffles that go on during your month, your meeting, maybe donating just that one raffle to CARES, something of that nature. So I think that's all that I have there. So
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
That's being raffled off this meeting, correct?
It is.
And when are you gonna get more, raffle more tickets?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I probably should. There's the sales part there, right? Yeah,
Money.
absolutely. So with that being said, if you Leslie has, what's that? Well, I think what they were talking about, what Mary was talking about, what we're recommending was how we would normally do, like, pass the hat, or not pass the hat, but sort of kind of cheer it up. Yeah. So is anybody interested in purchasing tickets right now? Pressure.
The Central
Coast District will buy 6.
Central Coast is going to buy 6, so $100.
And Hernandez Sewing will buy 6.
That's $200. All right, it's $200. Do I hear anyone else out there? You got this? You got this, Leslie? Big Valley? Sean Bradley? Okay, that's $100 from Sean, and it's $100 from Neighborly Pest. So Big Valley, I'm sorry, Big Valley. All right. Mr. Bullitt over there, we'll do 100. Oh. Do I hear anyone else? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Bay Area wants to do $100. San Bernardino Riverside will do $100. Omega will take $100. Orange County will take $100. What's that? Douglas Products will do 100. And Jeremy will do 100 too. No. What's that? All right. Santa Maria Terminex will do 100.
We like out of control. This is a good thing.
Anyone else? Feel that heart beating? All right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you all. And thank you all for giving to CARES, guys. So,
Leslie has to get those tickets going quickly.
all right. This concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ralph.
Yes.
I got one quick question. Hey, Travis. Travis, years ago, Lee Blevins used to put on a big tournament, golf tournament. Was that PCOC cures related to cancer and then Tom turned it into? Okay, that was a huge fundraiser.
Thank you, guys.
Ralph, thank you very much. Okay. Next, I would like to call up the Membership Committee Chairperson, Nicole Keefe. Is Nicole here? Well, we have a lot of substitutes today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to give you an update on our current membership progress. As you can see, I'm not Nicole, I'm Christy. The membership report is located in the board packet. It's the green sheet in the back, and you can also view it. Oh, it was on the screen. The report is divided up by district, so you can take a look at the numbers, and it does do a year-to-date from 2020 to 2021. As you can see, we're down quite a bit. We did have some non-renewals. Obviously, we had COVID and some other things going on within the last few years. But because of this non-renewal numbers, I decided to embark on a non-renewal campaign, I call it. So what I did is I pulled that list, and I've been contacting, emailing, giving them phone calls. I sent out physical mailing to everyone that didn't renew. Out of that outreach, there was 19 companies that were reinstated, so there was some progress. So I'm still working on that. I do have about 10 more companies that say the check's in the mail, I guess you could say. So I'm still kind of getting them to renew. We are coming up to our July, we're going to be doing our 2022, 2023 renewals. So at some point, we are going to have to maybe let those people go or give them, another chance one more time, kind of a thing. This next push, I do plan on sending each district chair a list of those that didn't renew. Maybe just one more time, you can reach out and try and get them to come back to us. So with that, I have also been working on prospective members that have new licenses with the Structural Pest Control Board. So I pulled a list of about 150 companies that are probably newly licensed since Karen had left in June. So quite a bit companies. We created a letter. I sent them a member application, and I also sent them my card. After that, I followed up with email, if I had their email address. Some of these people don't have websites or email addresses, but the ones that I could follow up with, I did. So I do have prospective people saying they're going to join kind of down the line. I'd say about 8 companies. So that's kind of in the process. But out of that outreach, we did gain 10 new members, company members. So that was for this quarter. During the next quarter, I plan on continuing to contact new companies, anyone that's newly licensed. We also have a list of people that were licensed when Karen was here, and I plan on kind of following back up with those people too, to try and pull them in. And like I said, phone calls, emails, physical mailings, things like that. I plan on attending district meetings starting in the spring. I guess it's pretty close to spring. March is spring. So soon, probably starting in April, I'd like to get out there and meet people and start visiting districts. I also plan on attending in-person industry events to get a table and try and just get PCOC's name out there and get some, folders and some things out to them to get them to join. And I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nice job. Nice work. Christy, it's great to have you aboard. Thank you. All right, next, I'd like to call up the Fumigation Committee Chairperson, and it's Jason Payne, and Jason is not here, so I think we have a stand-in. Another substitute. He requires no introduction, John Sansone.
Good afternoon, how are you? So I'm going to do enforcement and fumigation here at the same time. So in fume enforcement, we renewed about 4 years ago. And so the program would automatically sunset. That's the way the legislation had always been done. So for the last 2 years plus, it's been COVID. So we have not met face-to-face with the counties, which makes a big difference with the regulatory people from the board and from DPR, et cetera, et cetera. So we're up for renewal right at this time. And in fact, should have probably been done over a month ago. So we had our meeting about 2 weeks ago. And prior to that, for the 2 weeks preceding, I went ahead and set up scheduled calls with the program directors in each county. We've got LA, Orange, Santa Clara, and San Diego. And it was good to kind of touch base with them to evaluate how the program's working, not working, amongst the 4 counties. So the counties have experienced, like a lot of companies during COVID, kind of a big turnover in employees. A lot of the continuity that, was expected really was kind of surprisingly that they lost key inspectors, even program people that had been in those counties for many years. So Anico in LA, who's run the program the last few years, is gone, and they have not filled that position in LA County. So Erin Zavala, who ran it in the past for many years, she's now doing double duty as a deputy commissioner there. So the dialogue was great with LA County. They want to continue. They've lost 3 key inspectors, right? So they have 3 full-time dedicated inspectors to the program, and they obviously want to continue. They're in the process of replacing people. The deputy position to actually run the program will be filled maybe later this summer. So they like to hire from within, and in order to get the people the required experience and credentials, that person is now working in another area of LA County Ag. So LA County was about 1.5%. Typically, they're around 4%. about 16,000 fumigations for $127,000. To give you an update on Orange County, we've lost the commissioner there, so we now have a new commissioner, Jose Arriaga, who formerly worked in San Diego in one of the northern counties. The person that had run that program for many years, Kathy Keelar, is now gone. She's retired. They continue to work very hard in Orange County supporting the program. And they almost inspected at a 10% rate, which is like 4% is great, and 10% is very good. And I think they're trying to make up from where they were the preceding quarter when they were down about 1.5%. They lost 3 inspectors in Orange County, and now they've rehired people and trying to bring them up to speed. They are I think they're actually following a lot of the good fumigators, right? Larry Perez, they're following quality around to get their inspection numbers up. So they inspected at 10% rate. That's 88,000 fumigations for about $64,000. But of all those inspections, 379 inspections, they had no violations. So I think they're just kind of checking the box. But Orange County has been, one of the real stable counties in the program. San Diego County ag, that's a little bit more of a difficult topic for us. I was able to set up LA and Orange very quickly to kind of review, do you want to continue? How's it going? What do we need to do better? Do you want to continue? So obviously San Diego wanted to continue, and the issue was really, some of the issues that we're having with them as far as the quality of the program, the amount of the inspections, the quality of the inspections, et cetera. We found out that during COVID, they weren't entering the houses to do the inspection. So, which makes it kind of hard to find the violations if you don't go in the house. So that really created kind of a problem for us. So we tried to set up the meeting with Hadang, the commissioner, and Tim Holbrook, the program manager, and we just were not able to get Hadang to commit to a date, which was a little concerning for us because we really had some sincere business to really communicate with her. So when we were not able to meet with her and they couldn't commit to make any changes in the program in regard to the quality of their inspections, their inspection rate, and citing of licensees, et cetera, I turned it over to our key man, Chris Reardon, because nobody turns down Chris Reardon, right? I mean, this guy's big time. I mean, since he threw me out of DPR one day, he's the man. So anyway, she didn't take his call either immediately, despite him being Chris Reardon. So I think he was able to make contact with her, but we were not really able to resolve any issues with San Diego. She said that they would consider a meeting in May, just put us back into the program. And then, maybe we can meet with you guys in May. So that's where it kind of stands at this point. So they inspected at about 3.2%, almost 10,000 fumes, about $78,000. And so they've had no violations in San Diego, which is pretty common for San Diego. Santa Clara, completely different story, right? So the commissioner was on the call, Joe, and he apologized for the last 2 years. They really have not performed any inspections in Santa Clara County. So despite getting the money, they felt that it would be better for them to withdraw. They're in the process of hiring people this year, but he said it's going to take them a full year to really get people retrained if the county doesn't take, if there's not another outbreak of COVID. They apologized for not being able to do the job, and they wanted to withdraw from the program. So that's where we stand with Santa Clara County. They inspected it under 1%. Year to date, about 4,000 fumigations, which is $32,000. There's really not enough fumes there. There's probably 8,000. And that would pay for maybe half a person. So not really enough to keep it going in that county. So what do we really wind up with the program is we know that LA and Orange County want to continue. We want them to be in the program, and they are working very closely with us. We're recommending that San Diego not continue, and they obviously want to continue. And then Santa Clara has withdrawn. So at this time, we're still trying to find a sponsor for the bill, maybe a spot bill. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but if we do not get a bill in the next few weeks, the program would just sunset, and it would have to look at legislation next year. We also know that there are a couple of the other counties, San Bernardino and possibly Riverside, would like to join the program. So that there's a possibility that the program may continue on a kind of a different note next year, and we'll just have to see essentially what happens. So the last item I want to report on is all of the work that we've done, and Chris alluded to it. We're going to do a fumigation tour the 6th and 7th. So we're looking for the right kind of jobs, a bed bug job if we can get it, a large project. And it's important to really tell our story. So we're reviewing slides for the presentation that we're going to make to them. We realized we did this program in 2017 at DPR. That's the last time we've had a face-to-face meeting with them. And none of the people that are currently have, whether they're a risk manager, program manager, director, none of them attended the meeting in 2017. So PCOC has not had a chance to tell their story. So we're going to do something a little bit different this year. Is we're going to actually do our presentation when they come down for a visit. And instead of going out to a kind of a fancy restaurant for dinner, we're just going to kind of do a real casual dinner over at our office, and then we'll have a real conversation, because we've got people there that have never seen a fumigation that are basically going to decide our future. And so it's important for us, for PCOC, to really tell their story about the value that we give the consumers in California. And I think PCOC's got a great story. And frankly, the things that we have shown other people on the 4 or 5 previous tours that we've given were tremendously impacted by the jobs that they saw, the people that they interacted with, our fumigators. So appreciate all the help from Douglas Products and Janet Rowley to help with all the things that she does politically, and all the assets that the consultants that they're utilizing to help to decide this endpoint decision. So other than that, thanks to Chris. We talk way too much, Chris, way too much, but it just becomes kind of a natural thing. If I don't hear actually back from him every few days, I start to worry about him a little bit. So then I have to call him. I say, "Are you okay?" So anyways, that concludes my report, and thank you very much. Good to see everybody.
John, question before you take off.
Oh, okay.
You said San Bernardino and Riverside may want to get in the program. Is that the branch 1 fumigators, or is that the ag commissioners? Who wants in?
It's actually the counties. Those counties would like to be in there, and you know, we've got a good relationship with these counties. And in the past, we now have favorable commissioners that I think see eye to eye. There's a lot more fumigation in that interior areas of California. Those counties have really grown the amount of fumigation. So those counties would like to be in. I know Chris is pretty good buddies with Ruben Arroyo, the commissioner. He's in Riverside, isn't he, Chris? Okay, so they have an interest to be in there. We just got to see if it financially makes sense. But
How do the branch ones in those counties feel about being in or out?
A lot of the fumigators that work San Diego or work Orange County, they kind of service those areas. So I think the industry would support that because it gets us face to face with people. We have some dialogue with them. That's the whole purpose of having the program, is to interact with the people that are regulating you.
Right.
So whenever you can have that conversation, I think it's a good thing.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
That concludes my committee reports. I'd like to call up our treasurer, Mary Hernandez. Mary?
Thank you. Okay. Sylvia Kenmure, do you have a rodenticide task force report? Okay, no report. Building committee, Vince Scoville, come on down. And while he is coming down, instead of singing happy birthday, we should maybe just clap for him. He's here on his birthday, and it's a big one. Okay.
Big 4-0.
Yeah. You look like shit. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Wow.
Just like that? I'll put my hand
It's a hot mic, Mary. Hot mic.
So good afternoon. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. That's means a lot. Hey, had a great time yesterday. That was super fun. I played at a golf course. I've been here for 45 years. I've never played before. But Dave and Chris and Jeremy and we tore that place up. But no, that was all legit too. That was really fun. We laughed so hard yesterday. That was a good time. Anyway, on to the building. We last spoke. We were kind of real slow on picking up some, people to interest in renting from us, but we got some headway when we got back, and pretty interesting, and
to say the least.
It's quite a good offer to lease the building, and then we could, subsequently, possibly down the line, sell the building to these individuals. So with that, I'll kind of let Chris go on from there.
Yeah, I actually briefed our executive committee the end of last week. And so we were approached roughly a month ago by a large cannabis company that resides in Southern California that has an interest in purchasing. Well, they originally came in and he said, well, they were looking to purchase our building for about $1.4 million. As you recall, when we had an offer, when I talked to you before, it was about $727,000. They basically offered us 1.4 without even seeing the building. Subsequent to that offer, he came back again with an offer for about $1.1 million. And I said, well, those are nice numbers. However, I have authority. This board granted us authority through the executive committee and myself to come to an advantageous agreement for a lease as it relates to what we can do. So they have been fairly persistent. Our friend with Collier's, our point person, is contacted me 2 weeks ago, and I shared it with Mike Buller, who's our subcommittee chair, to get his sort of guidance and before this meeting about what he thought made the most sense. But I at least wanted to brief you that, you already gave us authority to work through a lease option. And this offer, I will tell you, is advantageous to say the least, to lease that building. But here's the one option that you should be aware of. They clearly want to purchase the building, okay, with an option to purchase the building. Right now, they originally said somewhere between 1 year and 2 year lease option. In our conversations, I shared, I think if we're going down that road, it's got to be somewhere between 3 and 5 years to allow us to get the benefit of that lease for a certain amount of time. So they are going back to draw up some sort of agreement, which I haven't seen. I gave them the authority with the executive committee to go back and begin discussions on what this lease option would look like. But I wanted to at least let this board know that there very well could be an option in there to purchase the building. And I know initially that was their offer to purchase the building. So they have been more than open to working out a lease agreement with us. But I just wanted to make you aware if as that gets down to road, and maybe get input too about if there is a lease option for the next 3 to 5 years with a purchase to with an offer to purchase the building. At least wanted to get some thoughts about where this board is now. Remember what I told you, it was $700,000 before, roughly $700,000 now. We are anywhere between 1.4 to 1.1. And as you know, if we were to decide to go down a different road in terms of purchase, as you know, then we would begin that discussion in terms of what that purchase price would look like as well. Okay. The other thing you should know too, coincidentally, Vince and I are looking at property downtown. So we've identified a place that's across from the old War Memorial, 15th and J, nice area of town. We think somewhere between 12 and 1,500 square feet, close to the Capitol, literally right around the corner from where we are today. Nice area, parking's included. So Vince and I met with the owner. A lot of super willing, wants to work with us. As you know, it's been kind of slow downtown anyway. But I at least wanted you to know and get input about this whole issue about we could just work out a simple lease agreement, which I'm not sure will, they might say, well, we want an option to buy and maybe just drop out. I don't know that for certain, but at least get some feedback from the board if that lease option, the purchase option comes up, and what the thought is with the board as well.
Along those lines, the money exchange is, downtown is still pretty, quiet, and they're super hungry. They want to give us a 7-year lease at $177, a square. So it's kind of unheard of on a price. And, this group would stand to be banking, several $1,000s on a monthly exchange, for leasing ours. So it's looking enticing, but I think the option is, sale part of it.
Well, they're even talking about depending, it's going to take a while, to get a license in California today in these cities. It could take anywhere between 6 months and 2 years, depending on the, how active how aggressive the local city is or county. So they're willing to even pay us to a portion of monies to while they go through that process. In West Sacramento, they would pay us as well in terms of not the full lease amount, but a significant amount of money till all their paperwork is done. Jim?
I think timing is actually very much in our favor right now. I don't be in favor of making a motion to authorize the executive committee to sell the building if we can get 1.2 or higher, and go ahead and find the right space to lease, take a few years, see what the advantages are of being here in the capital. We have most of that money from that sale can be put away and used for future purchase if we want to be building owners again. And at the very least, we have a lot of security having that money kind of available in the bank, maybe even earning some. So for me, when you talk about the numbers you're talking about at 1.2 or higher, I think that's a pretty smart move for us at this time.
Okay. Jackie? At the time, it was somewhere between, I think Tom remembers this, somewhere between 700 and 800,000 at the time.
I'm also dealing with one of the other leasing companies here, and he doesn't seem to have a problem us getting anywhere from 1.2 or higher. he says he could sell that building tomorrow for that. So, sidebar on that, you know.
There, Janet? No, let me get your number right now. $8,700 a month.
And we're looking at 53 at another site to lease. So, I mean, we're banking some money there, pretty good money every month.
And yeah. If that was what the board chose to do. Well, that was some of our discussion with them. Jim? The other thing I want to share with you as well is you might imagine when we first began this discussion on the building, we also have potential members of our association that we might have an interest in purchasing this as well. So one of our companies, one of our industry members. So I throw that out there as well. If we go down that road in terms of if this board decides to get into the discussion about an option to purchase, seems to me we'd want to look at everyone who wants to purchase.
I don't believe the $8,700 a month is the going market for that building, correct? Isn't it that they're just trying to secure it?
Oh, absolutely.
Would it, do you know approximately? I remember last time when we were talking to, they had stated it was about $4,000.
About $4,000. Yep. Somewhere between $4,000 and $4,500 to lease that.
So that would, so the $8,700 is not a realistic number that we'll get elsewhere.
Yeah, and even, probably the 1.2, look, I think it's, let's be honest, it's reasonable, probably higher than reasonable, based on everything we understand in terms of, Mike?
You're looking at 1.5 plus to build that building. So markets do what they do, and they say, 10 years, we want to build a building, it's going to cost us 1.5 to do that. So, I think that's more what you look at as a potential sell price, irrespective of market conditions.
Well, if we sell now, we can time the market to our time. It's obvious if prices go down, they're pretty up here right now. Their prices are pretty low. And we're sitting on that kind of money. We would be able to buy maybe a better thing than what the prices are today. So it's just sort of the axiom, say if it's high, it's a better time to sell, if it's low. And I worry a little bit that, remember, we have to make these decisions as a group, right?
I don't know, he's going to make it, he has to make it.
The safer road when I'm thinking about this route versus like my company or maybe myself personally. With this route, having that money in hand does a lot for us right now and opens possibilities in the future of ownership that are still there.
We would clearly also want to have, Jim, just to add in terms of where we invest that money, ability to help pay a rent too, in terms of the cost of if we choose to do that, so. Jackie?
I was just wondering when you guys were in discussions of potential visiting offer to buy buildings and mentioned if it's like that would be contingent upon them being able to actually do their job or do their business here, or was it just like we just want the building?
Oh, no, that's absolutely. If they
It
could,
is all in.
it's all incumbent. If West Sacramento City says, you're out of here, then
Permits can take
Yeah.
a year and a half to 2 years to get valid. So, I mean, they have to have all their ducks in a row. And from what we understand, their capital is very strong.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
Strong capital, and they also have the permit to
correct.
yeah.
grow or.
They already have three other dispensaries going, and it's very lucrative for them. Up in El Dorado County, it's in the top 5 of tax producing up there. So I think it's a good opportunity.
Mike?
I was just gonna say, I don't want to time what's the answer. The executive committee should make decisions. If you're asking me, I would say, let's collect rent for 5 years and give them the 1.4 option, if they would still consider that. Or if they want to extend another term, every time you extend, that purchase price goes up, so they want to extend another 5 years, and now they buy 4.7, something like that. So that gives us the best potential outcome, or we're a landlord forever, we have the next, it's triple that lease there.
Yep.
Or a gross lease here, so it's a natural cost.
Okay.
Can I jump in on this for a second?
Yeah.
First up to Jim's point, the board voted really, I mean, there was a robust debate and discussion that I think transcended 2 board meetings, if I'm not mistaken, and we came back and said we're leasing. I have to admit, I was disappointed. I was hoping we were going to sell. This meeting seems a little thin to change our mind about that. People that are in this room today, just looking out here, that was so fiercely debated and voted on. I feel a little challenged to second your motion, even if I agreed with it, because it just wasn't enough people in the room. I don't know about Robert's Rules of Order, but it just feels a little like we were given marching orders and now never mind, so I've been be careful about that. But unrelated to that, as I've read this, I'm no expert, as I perused, read through the offer, discussions the executive meeting had on Friday, these cannabis business can't just go out and move into any office park or business park or strip center they want. Their targets are very limited and few. So my sense is, listening to Chris, listening to Vince, listening to discussion, that these offers are well above market because we're uniquely suited to their business model. So we're not going to be able to lease this to Prudential Insurance or somebody else. This is an above market offer and an above market rent for both the purchase and the rent because of the uniqueness and the constraints of that kind of business. And so it's not so much the market going up as us having a peculiar buyer with whom we have a very unique product. And our product has more value to them than to the general marketplace.
And my concern is to wait till June, where we made this opportunity. I think, we've got our board elected here, we've got a forum, we've got the executive committee here. And I think if we need to, we can make a decision. I feel confident in that. I'm a little bit worried that this kind of opportunity comes up, and we might not get it from somebody else. We might not have this kind of offer. So I just think we need to really seriously consider this. If we want to delay, I'm okay with that. If we want to become landlords, frankly, I'm kind of behind that too. But I think we better be careful not to
Let them get away.
frustrate ourselves out of an opportunity. I'm just a little worried about that.
But we don't have to delay to move into a lease. We've been given authority by this board to lease this building. So we can move
And
forward.
they are requiring a purchase option on the lease. So their offer right now is a lease with an option to purchase. It's not a straight lease option. So they want to buy this building, and their offer right now is to lease it for a couple of years and then buy it.
Do we have to execute on the sale at the end of the lease?
Well, it depends on what it says, but yeah, I mean, if they're gonna have an option to, and by the way, we haven't seen the final product yet, folks, but at least that's what we're being told.
I thought it was a purchase option, not a purchase. With an option.
Yeah.
Are they asking for any of the portion of their rent to go towards the purchase of the building?
They are not. And by the way, in fairness to this board, we haven't seen that final. We've given them the opportunity to go back and sort of begin the discussions about what this will look like. We haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if this is premature or not. I don't, look, I think this board can do what it wants to do. So we don't have that final language, but my understanding, what they've told me verbally, is they plan on putting language in there regarding the opportunity to purchase the building after a certain amount of time.
Is it a requirement or an option? That's what I guess I'm confused by.
Well, I don't know yet because they just haven't. Well, you raised a good question because we had to actually, I know we had it in the executive committee. I know Mary had some thoughts about this too, because I think that we wouldn't realize in our discussions, look, as you know, cannabis buildings sometimes can be a challenge. You have to have security around these buildings, folks, because they understand the cash nature of it, both the plant, and the products, the plants, all the other stuff. There's issues that I frankly didn't think about. And so that's something we need to think about too. So if we're leasing this, it's something we need to think about. Now, I understand that they provide security, high-end cameras, do all the things necessary to protect their product. At least that's what I understand too. Correct. Correct. Yeah.
It's a legit company.
Yeah, correct.
You like Breaking Bad, we can cover it with tarps, they can cook meth in there, right?
I don't know if the motion.
Are you going to make a motion?
I don't know if there's a motion.
Jim?
Jim?
Maybe it's just to see how we feel. I think I'd like to make a motion to authorize the executive committee to sell the building for 1.2 or higher. And I'd like to second that. I don't know. We've never talked.
We have a first and a second. Under discussion?
Any further discussion? Mike?
Under discussion, I would say reluctantly I'm in favor of that, but I would just say negotiation, you can always ask for more, and then we can settle it as well as.
I concur with that.
So we have a first, a second discussion. Any more discussion? Here, Larry. We were waiting for you.
I just wanted to let you know that Jim knows a number of buildings, and we were approached by cannabis companies as well on one of ours. And they told us that we have to understand that cash and everything else is a risk. And the good thing that we own the building is pretty clear, having a mortgage on it. The bank would not
Thank you.
Larry. Any other questions? We ready for a vote? All those in favor for the option?
Hold on.
to-
Hold on, hold on. Remember, you have to be a member in good standing in order to vote.
Regular, supplemental.
Yep.
Expired.
Yep.
So hearing the motion and the discussion, all those in favor of the motion to sell the building after the lease option for 1.2? 1.2.
Authorizing the executive committee to sell the building for at least 1.2 billion. Now, without leasing, right? That's it. You can't.
They will have to, they're gonna do a lease.
Yeah.
They would buy it without a lease.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you saying without a lease, right? I don't think they want a lease. I think
No, they wanna buy it.
they are doing that to try and have an option. So I think if we just say, look, we'll sell it for 1.2, we can make a deal now. So that's why I made it a clean vote. I think that's a little easier. No contingency on a lease, is that correct?
Because we already have.
Yeah.
We already have a motion to lease. We already have that authority.
Might say that if you were to do
Yeah.
a motion that would allow the board to either lease to purchase or flat out purchase.
Yep.
That would give you the flexibility you needed to make whatever decision you make.
Correct.
We have a motion that the lease that already passed.
Yep.
You're authorized to do that.
Yep.
This now would authorize you to sell.
For 1.2.
Okay.
Are you pointing at him?
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, show your, aye, say aye. All those opposed?
Okay.
Looks like the motion will take that, so.
Yeah. Yep.
There we go.
Yep. Motion passed. Thank you very much. You gave us guidance.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All right. Okay, let's move on to the kids, the school kids, still. So if you go to your pink packet, it'll let you know what the current assets are going and what the fund is doing. It's 479,413. Fund is doing really well. We had a meeting today with our UBS representative, and he's recommending a few minor changes, and our group has decided to make the small, little tiny minor changes to offset some of the fluctuation in the market in our fixed income and our international market. So I think the moves that we'll make will keep us, keep the fund making some money there. Number one, I'd like to thank the committee, Travis and Mike McKenzie, Jackie Clark, Andy Moreno. We're all working hard to try and keep this fund up. We have a goal to get it to 500,000 before the end of the season. So hopefully we can get to there with a few moves that we'll make. We have picked our awards for this season. We're going to give out 6 awards totaling $10,000. So those letters will be sent to the winners of that after we get done with this meeting. All the districts, I'd like to call on all the districts to raise some money and work on trying to represent the CARES and the scholarship fund. It's real important that we keep those funds active for the future benefit of this group. We do need to keep those all rolling. We have a table auction at the silent auction that's going to be coming up at the expo. So look for our table at that silent auction, and try and give us a nod on our gifts that we set up. We talked about some pretty crazy stuff today, so I think it's going to be kind of fun to see what we can come up with there. Let's see here. We had a raffle for our, wait a minute, Greg. Hold it. So we had yes, you can't leave, Greg. So we had a raffle for the Disneyland Park Hopper tickets. That went very well. We're going to net about $4,000, roughly right in that area. We're going to split that with the CARES Fund. So we'll give that, after we're all done, we'll settle up with that. So that was a good little fundraiser. And we do have a winner already. That's very quick when you do that stuff online. That it works out very well. So we do have a winner, and that winner is present in this room. So it's pretty exciting. So, Greg, you can't leave because you're going to Disneyland. So after you become president, what are you going to do? Okay, that concludes my report. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vince, and happy birthday. Okay, advisory and nominations, and I'm going to say Tom Gradston. He's already coming on down. Oh,
So I had the building committee for years. I turn it over to Vince and he sells it to his dealer. What the? And he says they were really hungry for it, but it's called the Munchies.
only Tom.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for selling the building. So, so with elections coming up in June, I just want to let you know that there's many opportunities coming up. In the CARES, we have 2 positions coming up to be elected in. PAPCO, we have 5, and that's 5 out of 5. So there's 5 positions there, 2 in scholarship and 3 in PCOC. So if you're interested in any of these positions, I'm just going to tell you that I've been a part of PCOC for years. And I found that when I was just coming to the meeting, I was just coming just to watch, and I was just an observer. It was not any way as interesting as it has become being involved. So it's a good opportunity for any of you guys to step up and get involved. If you are interested, you can please reach out to me, and the election once again will be at Disneyland. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. That concludes my committees, and now the affiliate rep, Dave Watkins.
Well, you're wearing a bunch of hats.
Good afternoon. West Coast Rodent Academy, Sylvia. You can also do the professional women in pest management report too.
Knock them both out.
Okay, so West Coast is sold out, 55 people, 10 slipped in there with a glitch, so it's a little bit group, so that's good. Just know that probably in the fall, we're gonna do a virtual because we have over 200 people attend that, and then 55 people in person. So we're likely gonna do a hybrid meeting, so stay tuned for that. And thanks, I think Neve did a total, so she's raised about $140,000 for research. And even though we may not like all of the answers, we have answers, so that makes us informed. So she says, thank you very much. All right, Women in Pest Management, we got a lot going on. So we have a webinar series continuing called Nourishing Greatness. Our next date is March 29th, where we have Women in Pest Control, real talk to help teammates thrive as women warriors. This Jen Fox with Terminix is going to be our speaker. The cost is $10 for PCOC members and $20 for non-members. And if somebody asked, can a bunch of people listen to it all at the same time? Yes, you can just pay $10 and do that. We're okay with that, okay? But we also have 2 more dates. We'll have a September 27th and a December 6th, okay? And probably some kind of live event at our board of director meeting in June. Let's see what else. Thank you to the Shasta District because they're going to help us collect the money so that we can raise money. Speaking of money, we have a grant that we're going to be offering called the Women of Excellence Grant. This kind of transition from our award that we were going to do with the meal and all that, we're going to make it a grant. And the grant idea of the grant is that a woman can use this for development in the business, whether it's getting a license, whether it's getting her ACE or BCE, she wants to take a college class, career counseling, whatever she wants to do, okay? And so the applications are going to be available on April 25th on the PCOC website, and then they're going to be due on May 20th, and we're going to announce the winner at the June Board of Directors meeting. You don't have to be present, okay? And we have 3 members of the committee that are going to be judges, along with Neve Quinn and Gail Getty. So hopefully we'll get some good applications. We did have the Women of Excellence Award, the one and only winner, and we've retired it. It was Debbie Scott. And so we are going to be getting her a plaque in honor of that, but we are moving on from that to a grant. And that's it. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Our Public Relations Committee, Blair Smith.
Hi, everyone. So a big part, of course, of what I've been working on the past quarter has been helping with the Rats of California campaign. And so if you don't have my contact information, it's up there on the screen. So go ahead and take note of it. Again, if you're connected with our social media platforms, we did do a really short contest. We noticed that we needed a lot of content. We realized that we were going to shoot for this to be our launch date. And we actually had a winner, Kim Kaiser. She's from the San Mateo Vector Control. She did an awesome video of a rat doing all these acrobatics, off of a bird feeder. So you can see that video online, but just keep in mind that we are going to offer additional opportunities. And again, especially as this campaign changes focus, maybe away from rodents to other issues. So definitely be sure to engage with us with that. But also with our meeting, we did hold membership and PR together, which I thought was a great move because PR right now, the first quarter of the year was really focused on external communication, but we know that retaining membership comes from strong internal communication. So one of the deliverables that we want to work on for the next quarter and that Christy and I will be working on together is providing all of our district chairs and also our committees, with a monthly kind of communications sheet. Important dates, things to know, and hopefully that will kind of pave the way for us to later have even media assets, so pre-made posts that you can all put on your respective Facebook pages for your different districts or blast out by email. So we as the PR committee, now that, by hiring this outside firm, we're really getting our feet under us with external communication. My next goal for this next quarter is getting that internal communication kind of streamlined and some kind of process that it's going out to all of the districts. So as always, you can use my contact information, not just for submitting awesome content from the field, but if you have any creative ideas or are willing to lend your creativity and talents, we can work on a project and get that going. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Blair.
I just wanted to say, the grassroots lab people who we met with or came to join us today, none of this happens without Blair helping us. So she has done a tremendous job in helping us get where we are in grassroots lab. So kudos to you.
Affiliate committee, Chaz Estrada is not here, but I believe Greg from Target will be giving that report. Come on up, sir. You're walking like me. I
hope you didn't go through the same thing.
Worse, probably.
Good afternoon. I'm Greg. I'm standing in for Chaz, who is, him and his wife are expecting a new addition to their family. So this was impromptu. We almost didn't have an affiliates meeting today, but thanks to Mary, she brought up a great topic. And the thing that we talked about and discussed in our roundtable, really what it was creating a new flyer so that all the affiliates, manufacturers, distributors, and so on can have something to hand out to non-PCOC members, as well as a plan to get together with the new addition, Christy over there, with coming up with a referral card for you, so that when we're out in the field and our PMPs are out in the field and come across a PMP that is not currently a PCOC member, that they have a referral card that they can hand them, so that there's a direct connection between Christy and having an opportunity to go talk to those individuals. So that was pretty much it, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me up here.
Thank you, Greg. All right, move along. There was no termite committee meeting, constitution and bylaws, nothing for that either. So we're moving now to fundraising committee. I think there's a very long report that Travis needs to get. Mr. Travis Mickle.
Thanks, Dave. So good afternoon. Good to see you all. The fundraising committee did not meet, but I did want to just give everyone an update so everyone kind of understands where we're at with that. As you may remember, the fundraising committee was put together when we were in some very dire financial situations, and that has since improved, and we have not wanted to have competing fundraisers that might pull away from CARES or any of the others that people donate to. So at this point, we're kind of on standby, but I wanted everyone to know if anyone has a need for some help, you can email me, and then I can send that out to the entire fundraising committee and see if we can patch people in to help out where they're needed. So that's basically where we are. Any questions on that at all? All right, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Travis, for that long report. So that concludes my portion. I will now turn our meeting over to our third vice president, Travis Mickle again. Travis.
Thanks, sir. Just on the phone. I'm not sure. So good afternoon. Two of mine were already called up. And is there anyone, I don't think Mike McKenzie's here unless he snuck in. Is there anyone from Leadership Academy to give a report? All right, my time up here is short then. I will call up Secretary Sean Bradley.
Thanks, Travis. Got off easy today, huh? So first, I guess I'll check if, I didn't see Eric Paulson or Billy Gaither in attendance. So is anybody reporting for Safety Historical today? Okay, perfect. General Pest Committee, we met today, this morning at 10 a.m. It was well attended. Almost everything that we talked about has been covered already. So maybe I'll just go over the things that maybe weren't discussed already. We had Darren and Chris in the room, so they talked about the bills being introduced. Chris gave us an update on preemption. I think one thing that maybe hasn't been mentioned yet was that Colorado had a bill, SB 121, that would have removed preemption and banned neonics. So the two for there. And good news is that went down 5-1, and only the sponsor was the one yes vote. So no preemption bill has been introduced for this session. Asked for an update on the air pollution bill, AB 1346, and Darren said it was where it was last time, so no updates there. One thing I did bring up was the number one, I think, challenge to probably everybody in this room is just people, manpower, labor, folks in the field. So we discussed that. I tried to brainstorm some ideas, what some folks are doing, and it's tough. There's no easy answer to that, obviously. And Sylvia brought up an interesting organization called Manners, MANRRS. And what they do is they try to bring folks with diverse backgrounds into the ag industry. So I'm going to get some information from Sylvia and see if that's an avenue for us, and maybe something that the committee could work on and bring some more folks into the industry that we normally wouldn't reach. So she says that, I guess there's a chapter at her alma mater, Cal Poly Pomona. So she's going to look into that a little bit more for us. She also gave us an update on the West Coast Rodent Academy and the EPA rodenticide ban proposal. So we also had, we're fortunate to have Josh Hunzinger, the Ag Commissioner from Placer County, in the room. So he gave us a few updates. One of the things he talked about was social justice and environmental justice driving policy, and how that could be highly related to preemption. That was his words there. So, and he also went over mandatory notification that Chris touched on, and talked about the level of fines that they can levy from the. In his position, it's only $5,000. That's the max. And he's saying compared to others, yeah, like water boards, or they can go into the tens of thousands of dollars for fines. So he's saying that they're maybe look for that and to change in the future. So, and that's any questions or comments? All right, thanks. I'll hand that back over to Dean.
All right, thank you. Do we have any unfinished business? One thing I would like to mention, we talked about the leadership academy with Mike. We were talking in our district support committee just last week that we want to try to get a leadership academy going sometime in the fall. So be looking forward to that. I think that the thing that we were waiting on was filling our districts and getting our district chairs in place, because we felt, why have a leadership if there aren't any district chairs to come to it? But I think we're getting to a point where we can start getting ready to have one of those. So we're looking to maybe do that in the fall. So look forward to that. Okay, Sean, you want to review the motions?
So the motion was from Jim Steve, made a motion to authorize the executive committee to sell the building for at least $1.2 million, and that was seconded by Tom Graston. Motion went to a vote, passed.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Steve Scoville first. Vince, sorry, Vince. I've done that before. Ralph Reese, the second. I know I'll pay for that, right? All right. Meeting adjourned.